So it's been a year since I uploaded my video about my no-buy year to YouTube, and I want to thank so many of you for watching that video because it is by far my most popular video ever. I think at the time of filming this, it has just over 500,000 views. So whilst I know that that is tiny in comparison to many here on YouTube, it absolutely blows my mind. So thank you to each and every one of you that watched that video. I really appreciate it. But I thought what I'd do today is maybe address some of the more common questions and comments I got on that video. I thought that might be kind of interesting and a fun way of kind of looking at that video a year on. So let's dive straight in. So one of the most common questions was around what I did in regards to entertainment, socializing, hobbies, going to restaurants, etc. So firstly, it's worth bearing in mind that I did the no-buy from kind of the end of March 2020 to the end of March 2021. Now, as I'm sure most of you can remember, throughout that time, there were lots of lockdowns, there was restrictions, there was business closures. So a lot of the things, even if I'd wanted to go and do them, it just wasn't possible anyway. I think I mentioned in the original video that in kind of a weird way, the lockdowns actually helped me with my no-buy. The second thing to remember or bear in mind is that this was only ever intended as a finite period of time. I don't recommend this as a permanent lifestyle, you know, doing a no-buy as a permanent lifestyle, unless you want to, of course. But for me, I'm not really about saving money at all costs. I'm more about mindfully purchasing, working out where your money's going, working out what are your priorities, what brings you value, and then spending accordingly. But from a lifestyle perspective, I actually really enjoy doing a lot of things that don't actually cost a lot of money. So I really like spending time in nature, going for a nice walk in the countryside, etc. I've also been a National Trust Life member for a number of years, so now visiting any of their sites is essentially free for me. Obviously travel, of course. I also like gardening. That can get expensive, but it doesn't have to be. I like to host my friends at home as well, you know, cook them dinner, just kind of have a catch up over a cup of tea. I rarely drink anymore, so bars and stuff don't have the same kind of pull that they once did, maybe in my 20s. Now, I know that this will not work for everyone. I'm sure that there will be people sat there thinking that this list that I've just told you of things I like to do is the most boring thing ever. Of course, YouTube is a hobby of mine as well, so that takes up some of my time. But what I would say is if you're somebody who really enjoys going to bars, if you really enjoy going to restaurants, you know, if you like that social aspect, then what you could do is maybe not do a no-buy, but do a low-buy instead, or perhaps set yourself a budget for entertainment each month and then just not go over that budget. So you've got a set amount each month and that's it. Apologies for any change in lighting, by the way. It cannot decide if it wants to be spring or winter today, and I think it's gonna rain. Anyway, another common question was around gifting, which I completely understand as it can be a really large expense every year, especially if you come from a large family or potentially you buy gifts for the extended family as well as the immediate family. But I actually didn't buy any gifts throughout my no-buy year, and I suppose some would consider us odd as a family. But a couple of years ago, we sat down and had a chat and decided against expected gifting for one another, especially for the adults. And what we tend to do now is just commit to spending time with each other in lieu of a gift. We also tend to say, whatever money you would have spent on us, potentially buy yourself something that you really want. Perhaps something that's a little bit special, something that you wouldn't have maybe treated yourself to ordinarily, but if it fits in the budget of what you would have spent on everyone else, then, and you're really going to get value from it, then, you know, potentially treat yourself. We've just found that this works a lot better for us than kind of lots of smaller gifts. However well-meaning, they might not actually be what you really want. And from our perspective, we kind of like that it gives us the opportunity once a year to maybe just really treat ourselves. It also means if anyone is potentially struggling financially or maybe just has some savings goals, that no one is duty bound to buy anyone anything, including themselves. So we've just found that that really kind of takes the pressure off as well. I appreciate this won't work for everyone, and I have to admit the first Christmas we didn't exchange gifts was really weird, but it really works for us now. Okay, so moving more into comments. Now, I want to point out first that the vast majority of comments on that video were incredibly positive. Most people understood the concept of a no buy immediately and knew I was coming from a positive place. Loads of you were inspired to start your own no buys, so you know, that's fantastic. And actually at this point, I want to thank you guys again for sharing so many of your stories on no buys, no spend challenges, kind of pantry challenges, paying off debt, paying down your mortgages. I loved each and every one of your stories about how you changed your shopping habits, took control of your personal finances, and thank you so much for doing that, because each and every one of them made me smile. However, it is unfortunately kind of par for the course that you will get some negativity when putting yourself online, especially on videos like that one where it was being kind of pushed out to more than just my usual viewers. The reason I just wanted to point that out is because some of these comments that I'm going to share with you were, well, could be seen as really negative by some, but some of them I thought were still worth addressing, so that's why they are in here. So one thing that came up was along the lines of, there is no way I could do this, I'd be so miserable doing this, or this is not a good balanced way to live. Here's the thing, if a no buy or a low buy is not for you, you don't think it will work for your lifestyle, don't do it. My intention with that video was merely to share my experience and maybe inspire one or two people to maybe just look more critically at their purchases, to maybe shop more mindfully, take control of their personal finance. You absolutely don't have to do this if this would not work for you. Now, I'm also a big believer in, with any advice or opinion, take what works for you and discard the rest. You know, not everything will work for everyone. That's just how it is. To be perfectly honest, I'm just really grateful that people were open-minded enough to watch the video, to listen to my experience, even if it wouldn't work for them. The other thing I want to share is that I never actually intended to do a full year when I started. I thought I'd maybe do a couple of months, perhaps 3 to 6 months, to just kind of bolster my savings to protect myself in case of a job loss. But after a while, it kind of became a challenge to keep going. It kind of became a game to see if I could do another month and then another month. And then, of course, the no buy year was born. But I think that's one piece of advice I'd give to somebody who thinks, oh my God, I could never do a year-long no buy. Start small, like do a week, do a month. You don't necessarily have to do a year. I never intended to. It just kind of worked out that way. Again, I don't recommend this as a permanent lifestyle. It was always meant to be a finite period of time. There were a few people worried that this was just super extreme, that I was living like the pioneer days, but please don't worry about me. I do not live like that permanently. I do enjoy material things, experiences, things that cost money. It was just a challenge that was really, really beneficial for me in many ways. Then there were some comments that were along the lines of, if I was to influence everyone to do this, to do a no buy year, then the economy would tank, people would lose jobs and businesses would fail. The thing is, we're all different. There are some people that would not do a no buy challenge for a week, maybe not even a day, no matter what I said. Now, I actually have some genuine concerns about jobs being lost to technology, something that I think is going to become a more pressing issue in the coming years. But that aside, I cannot carry the burden of other people's jobs. Now, if I had continued shopping with a view to support other people's jobs and then lost my own job, I could have been in a sticky situation. And I doubt very much that I would have been able to go to those retail workers and tell them that they are indebted to me and that they should help me pay my bills. It's also not my responsibility nor yours to carry the burden of our national or global economies. Little old me just ain't that powerful. Our economies really rest on the shoulders of our policymakers and our politicians, people who I believe, in my opinion, have made some really poor decisions in relation to the economy for some time. I feel it's my responsibility to look after the resources that I have in the best possible way I can, not only so that I'm getting the best value for my money in the here and now, but also so that I can potentially protect myself in more challenging times. And then one sort of comment that actually made me feel really sad was people saying that they had to live this way and live a no-buy lifestyle as they were poor, or accusations that I was somehow glamorizing poverty. First of all, if you are struggling right now, my heart absolutely goes out to you. I have had periods of my life where I struggled financially, and there is nothing remotely glamorous about it whatsoever. It is not fun, not at all. I know that I am really lucky and really fortunate to be able to have saved in the way that I have done, and I know that for some people just keeping their head above water financially every month is a challenge. So in no way did I mean any offense or to make anyone feel bad about their situation in the making of that video. I'm actually really genuinely concerned on a community level about the current climate and the potential recession that I think is coming our way. The COVID lockdowns and restrictions disproportionately financially affected the poorest in our society. The cost of living crisis that we're facing now will disproportionately affect the poorest in our society, as do recessions generally as well. So I know I'm definitely feeling the pinch, and whilst I am by no means rich at all, I can't imagine how frightening it must be for some people right now that were struggling prior and then having these increased costs. It must be really frightening. So again, in no way was I glamorizing that struggle, so I apologize if anyone took offense to that. One thing I will say though is that for many of us, the only way that we can help others less fortunate than ourselves financially is if that we ourselves have some spare at the end of the month. So, you know, I really just hope to inspire people to look at their purchases critically, and in doing so, that will likely cut down the amount of unnecessary or impulse purchases, and therefore allow you to have more in your bank at the end of the month. And then you could potentially choose to help other people if that fits with your values. You can't really help anyone in the financial sense if you don't have anything to give yourself, you know. So if you're wasting money on things that don't matter, you're not going to be able to help others. So, you know, that was kind of more where I was coming from than trying to glamorize not spending. Then interestingly, I got some comments about makeup. Now one person I think just directly called me a liar because they said that I must have bought makeup throughout the year period. A couple of people just implied I was lying, mainly because I'd listed what makeup I was wearing when I filmed that video in the description box. But first up, the description box. I have written my makeup, the clothes I'm wearing, the jewelry I'm wearing in the description box in pretty much every recent video. It's something that an awful lot of YouTubers do, to be honest with you, so I was kind of surprised by this. Anyway, the reason that I do it is because I do, certainly when I first started on YouTube, you would get questions from people saying, you know, I love your top, where's it from? I really like that lipstick shade, what is it? So I now just put it all in the description box to make it easier for those people that are interested to find it. I still get questions. People don't always look at the description box, but that's why it's there. Secondly, if I had bought any makeup, just for absolute clarity, I would have told you I didn't buy any makeup throughout my no buy. Now, for those of you that have been subscribed to my channel for a long time or have watched some of my old videos, you would know that a few years ago now, I fell down the YouTube beauty rabbit hole hard, like super hard, and I spent way too much money. I bought way too much stuff, and in fact my first ever no buy was focused solely just on makeup, cosmetics, etc., because it had just got out of hand. And do you know what, it has been a few years since then now. I've used things up, I've gifted things to friends and family, I've decluttered, I've sold bundles of makeup, and yet I still have things that are you know, that are still sealed. So it was just a crazy time. So I appreciate that I've got that as backup, and therefore, you know, I bought it previously and don't have to buy it now. However, because I did the no buy in you know, mainly throughout 2020, and I think I can count on my hands the amount of time I wore makeup in 2020. I think maybe the only few times I did is maybe when I was filming a YouTube video. I don't remember wearing much makeup at all. So even if I didn't have this kind of makeup that I'm trying to use up, I highly doubt I would have bought any anyway. Again, I would have told you if I had. I was very open about the fact that I bought Caudalie shower gel rather than say the 50p stuff from the supermarket. I got some stick for that. So yeah, I was very, very transparent. I do always try to be as transparent as possible. So yeah, just for clarity, I didn't buy any makeup. Okay, so moving on. Then there were quite a few comments along the lines of, many people do this for many, many years. How could you not know this? Or, I assumed everyone lived like this. And multiple, I haven't bought anything for, but essentials for 10, 15, 20, even 40 years. And how is this even a video? Everyone does this. Well, firstly, not everyone does this. Of course, some people do no buys through necessity, which we've talked about, and others choose to live an incredibly frugal lifestyle. Perhaps those people who are really interested in, say, the FIRE movement, etc. But if the majority of us were only buying the true essentials, fast fashion wouldn't exist, less people would be in debt, and Instagram influencers definitely would not exist. You only need to look at the amount of haul videos here on YouTube from very normal, small channels, not these huge channels, to see that some of us are definitely not living a no-buy lifestyle. I also kind of struggle to believe that there are people by choice that have not been on a day trip, they've not been on holiday, they've not bought any clothes, they've not bought any shoes for 20 or 40 years. If I am describing you, please make a video and share your story with me. There is not any sarcasm here. I would love to hear your story. I'd love to hear how you've done it, how it's affected your socializing with friends and family, how has it affected the kind of downtime that you have in your life. I would absolutely, genuinely love to hear your story. And then finally, to those people who say, you know, why is this even a video? I would just say, if I can inspire one person to take control of their personal finance, to understand money a little bit better, to understand their shopping triggers and why they buy certain things, then to me, that video has been a huge success. I did in a way find some of those comments a little bit annoying, if I'm honest, because, you know, I was sharing my story from a really positive place. I could instead be doing fast fashion try-on hauls every week, and believe me, ironically, I would get so much more views from doing those. They're just so much more popular with the YouTube algorithm. But in doing that, I would be promoting a really unrealistic lifestyle, an unrealistic amount of expenditure and shopping. So I don't really want to do that. But yeah, it's a shame that people couldn't see that it was coming from a positive place, but there you go. Then lastly, a few people disagreed with me on what a no-buy is. They felt that a no-buy must entail some sort of homesteading, small holding, bartering, or some kind of really extreme way of living. But I actually didn't come up with the no-buy concept. It's been around on YouTube for at least 4 years, because I think that's probably around the time that I did my makeup no-buy, and I definitely wasn't the only one at the time. Although I think it's been gaining popularity in the last couple of years. Now, most people understood the concept completely, no need to ask any questions, just totally fine. And I know many of you have actually done your own no-buys, your own kind of challenges, so that's amazing. But of course, people are allowed to disagree on what a no-buy is. But I think my favorite comment of all time in this regard is, if anyone says they don't buy anything and then they go get groceries, it's not a no-buy year. Grow your own food and don't actually buy anything. Find a B-day out in the world and stop buying toilet paper. Get a bike so you don't buy gas. Actually don't buy anything. Now, of course, this is someone's opinion to which they are entitled. But firstly, I do grow what I can, but I don't remotely have a large enough plot to be self-sufficient. I would say probably the vast majority of people that live in the UK and probably in other parts of the world don't have a plot big enough to be self-sufficient. Also, as somebody who enjoys gardening, who tries to grow their own, enjoys growing plants, etc., often this is not cost-free. Often you have to buy various things. Oh gosh, sorry. Often you have to buy various things: plant food, fertilizer, compost, maybe pots to put it in, tools to garden with. It's not, it's seeds. If you are growing from seeds or small little plants, you quite often would need a greenhouse, which I don't have. Maybe a cold frame. Like these are, it's not necessary, unless you've got these things set up in advance, it's not necessarily kind of cost free or shopping free. Never mind the fact that I was very clear that I was in rented accommodation at the time, and generally speaking, landlords don't tend to be okay with you turning the tiny, I might add, garden into a veg patch. Yeah, but I think what I enjoyed most was in relation to the B-Day. This doesn't remotely make financial sense. So let's take up the tiled floor from the bathroom, buy a bidet, buy the taps for the bidet, employ a plumber to plumb in the bidet and taps, and then buy new tiles for the bathroom floor, pay a tiler to lay those tiles, all to save what, £40 a year in toilet paper. It doesn't make any sense at all. Never mind the fact that I'm very lucky. I have quite a large bathroom because my bathroom is downstairs, but most properties, and certainly the property I lived in last, had a tiny bathroom. You couldn't have got a bidet in there if you wanted, and I think that's probably indicative of most bathrooms in the UK and in other parts of the world. Like, it's just madness. Or maybe when they said go out in the world and find a bidet, they meant find somewhere that has a bidet, and then when you need to go, you get on your bike, you pedal to the place with the bidet, do your business, use someone else's bidet, use someone else's bidet so you don't have to buy toilet paper. Now, I mean, this just doesn't make any sense, but I really enjoyed the notion, so thank you so much for that. Anyway, that is it for today's video. I apologize for being gone for so long. Myself and my family all got COVID, so we just kind of took it easy for a little while, and I had some major stuff going on at work, but I should be able to get back into a more kind of regular schedule now. Thank you again for watching that video, and for any other videos you've watched on my channel. I hope this one was interesting or entertaining in some way, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye now.